The Australian Speedcar Championship, one of the oldest open-wheel races in national motorsport. This time-honoured classic has produced some of the greatest moments in the history of Speedway Down Under. It's a race that has created legends. Today, we take you trackside to Speedway City in Adelaide for the 73rd running of a race that was inaugurated during the 1934-35 season. On speed, this is the NZ Australian Speedcar Championship, proudly presented by Speedcars Australia.
Tremendous to have your company on the Speed Channel around Australia. The City of Churches has turned on a magnificent day today for the running of the 2014 Australian Speed Car Championship. It's night 2 tonight, temperature in the low 30s, but it is fairly blustery as we welcome you to Speedway City for this time-honoured event. I'm joined trackside by one of the form drivers in the sport at the present time. I refer to Western Australia's Dane Kingshott, who recently won the Speedcar Pro Series. You would have been buoyed by that victory. Did your confidence a world of good, I'm sure?
Yeah, definitely. We knew we were going to be quick enough to win the Pro Series this year, and not a lot of people did, but we had a pretty, we were confident we could do it, so we're glad to get that job done and come here tonight and just try and put on a show.
Now, obviously, by virtue of that outstanding victory, you come into this event as one of the pre-meeting favourites, and you did yourself no harm at all on night one. You've emerged as the second top point scorer, so things are going pretty well so far.
Yeah, we're not doing too bad. We actually, I think our points probably didn't really show our night last night. We struggled a little bit. We were struggling for car speed, so in the feature we backed up a couple of spots, and tonight's a new night though, so we'll go out there and get a bit of pace in it, and hopefully we can finish up the front there.
We're looking at the top 10 point scorers on screen right now. The American Alex Bright, continuing his outstanding form from early in the Australian summer, is the top man, and he's obviously here to win this thing, and clearly one of the men to beat.
Yeah, definitely. I think between him and Clarkey, and then you've got, you've still got your Mark Browns and your Neville Lance if he can make his way up through there. And there's a real good bunch of cars here and drivers, so it's going to be a tough one for sure.
Good luck tonight, mate.
Thank you very much.
There he is, Dane Kingshott. He will be one of the tough men to beat in the 2014 Australian Speed Car Championship. Right now on the program, it's time to hear from one of the sport's top Americans, and Ebony Hawkins is standing by.
Thanks, David. I'm here with Alex Bright, the young gun from the US. Now, Alex, you were the top point scorer for last night. So far, so good.
Yeah, this Polaroid car was really good. Got 2 heat race wins and second, and I ended up second in the prelim feature. Adam Clark, he was absolutely fast, but we were a little off, and we'll see if we can tune in on it tonight and see what we can do.
Have you made many changes to the car today?
Not really. We'll just see how the track ends up and go from there. The Jones family and the crew here really on top of the car, so we'll see what they can do also.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what about the track conditions? How are you finding that here from the other tracks you've raced at?
Well, this track really goes from one end to the other depending on the daylight to night. Yesterday it went from slicked off to almost rubbered up, and then they actually turned it around to being a 2-lane tacky track. So we'll see how it ends up tonight. Hopefully they can turn around a 2-lane track for the feature tonight.
So, Alex, what's made you come halfway around the world to go for our Australian Championship?
Well, it's such a prestigious race. I just want to have a shot at it again. Last year we got 4th, so in a little bit better equipment this year, hopefully we can bring home the trophy and the title.
Yeah, you want to take that back to the US?
Oh, definitely.
You guys have done pretty well, I'll give you that. Thanks so much, Alex, and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Now, here's a feature story on the history of this event.
The Australian Speedcar Championship is the oldest national title race for car speedway in Australia. Inaugurated during the 1934-35 season at Melbourne's Olympic Park circuit, the National Speedcar Championship has stood the test of time, and tonight's race represents the 73rd staging of this time-honoured event. Speedcars produced the greatest ever era in Australian speedway when the sport was at its zenith, with the cageless cars attracting huge crowds across the nation during the boom period of the 1950s and 60s. Drivers such as Ray Revell, Andy McGavin, Bob Tattersall, Johnny Stewart, Ronald Mackay, George Tatnall, Johnny Fenton, Warren Eakins and Michael Figlamini, to name just some, have dominated the jewel in the crown of national speed car racing, each enjoying multiple victories. In more recent times, American drivers have been dominant, with the likes of Davey Ray, Jerry Coons Jr., Corey Cruiseman, Tony Elliott and Kevin Swindell winning 7 of the last 10 championships. Since the sport's halcyon days, the cars have changed dramatically, the most noticeable difference being the introduction of roll cages and a much bigger number of chassis and engine manufacturers involved. Speed cars produce what is generally recognised as the best racing in the sport, with epic 2 and 3 wide racing battles being commonplace.
I think it's pretty simple. The racing is just outstanding. There's lots of passing. They're a high horsepowered, short wheelbase car, which brings a lot of thrills and spills. And there's no doubt the racing that has gone over the last 60, 70 years. If you look back, the speed car racing is definitely the closest form of speed car racing you'll see.
I think it's just because it's wheel-to-wheel action. Every lap, you get 3-4 ride, no matter how the track is. And then, well, we don't like it, but the wrecks, I'm sure the fans like that. So, open wheel racing at its best.
The fabric of speed car racing in Australia was sewn on dirt tracks as opposed to today's venues that utilise a clay surface. And whilst the spectacle still is awesome, there are many people that miss the sideways nature of racing on a loose dirt surface.
Well, the racing's pretty neat on the, if you've got a nice sticky clay track, these things are awesome. They do pull wheel stands and pretty neat looking cars. But the slide jobs and everything that you get with a dirt track, it's pretty good to watch too.
I'm a little bit old-fashioned. I really like getting on a good dirt track, and we've actually got a couple of really good ones in Victoria, Wangaratta and a few others. So a really good dirt track that you can sort of get up multi-lane I really like. Clay really doesn't bother me, but probably a good old-fashioned dirt track I love.
One of the reasons the American drivers have enjoyed such a monopoly on the national title over the past decade is the fact that in the United States, the top drivers race several nights per week, as opposed to our weekend warriors. Put simply, there is no substitute for seat time.
I don't really think we have an off-season. I just raced before I came over here for this week, and now I'm leaving Sunday to go back and race the Chili Bowl. So we pretty much race from February to January. We don't have an off-season, and I think this time I probably raced about 70 times this past year.
Speed car racing is a volatile, dangerous sport, and indeed many drivers have sadly paid the ultimate price. With such a short wheelbase, combined with our open wheel configuration, it doesn't take much for the cars to get serious attitude, which is why the introduction of roll cages was a must.
Oh, no question. Look, safety paramount, number one. And even today there's a whole lot, a whole range of new safety initiatives, but every layer of safety helps the driver go home at the end of the night, and that's number one.
In the present era, speed cars are now thoroughbred race cars, featuring all the latest in technology. The downside is that, like all serious motorsport purists, it can be an expensive sport.
There's no doubt that they cost a bit to run these cars. If promoters put on nice tracks for us, it's usually not too bad, tyre wear, this and that. If racetracks get away on us, it can get a little expensive. Motors, they become pretty reliable now, so it's a different era with engines. Most of the engine companies are on top of their game, so it's comparable to anything else that, if you're racing, it's not an entry class. So,
do you think it's a positive thing, the amount of different manufacturers with the engines and chassis that we have in the sport?
Well, midget racing's changed now with the modern era. We've got probably 5 or 6 chassis builders. You can get the stuff off the shelf. So the days of guys whittling away bits and pieces in the garage are kind of over. You know, and that's probably what midget racing was first built on. You know, guys would build a car in a garage and make it out of, you know, sticks and stones and go out and have a go. But now it's all off the shelf. It's just like sprint car racing now. You can buy a car off the shelf and go racing and be competitive.
You may have noticed that Mark Cooper just called the cars midgets, and this in itself is a bone of contention.
So Zach, in the US and in New Zealand they call them the midgets. Here we call them speed cars. Do you think for worldwide unity we should get on board with you guys and call them midgets?
Yeah, I mean, midgets is a little bit more worldwide, but for the race fan, or for people that aren't race fans, but they still think we race little people. Rico kind of takes offense to that sometimes, but you know, I think Speed Cars is a cool name. I wouldn't mind actually adopting the Speed Car name. It's pretty cool.
The 2013-14 term Down Under has been the biggest season for speed cars in almost 50 years. In addition to the national title, we've seen the advent of the Speedcar Pro Series, the introduction of the World Midget Championship, a $10,000 to win race in Toowoomba held in February, and the long-running Speedcar Super Series continues to do an outstanding job for the sport. Dual national champion Adam Clark says the category has immense potential.
Well, this year they had the Pro Series, which I think is a good thing, and then also you've got the Super Series up around Queensland that Kenny Jenkins runs. I just think the division needs to get together and have one series. We run the Power Series with the Americans and the Kiwis. We have enough cars here in Australia to fill the 40-45 car field every week, and as a racer I think that I want, and obviously everyone else would love to race the best competition on a week-to-week basis. So the division needs to get together in that there and have one series, and then when you field the car counts you can put on a great show and the division will grow. But while we have 2 or 3 series, it's just split obviously, and then you don't get the car count and you're not producing the best product that midget racing can do.
Some interesting thoughts there from Adam Clark. Great to have you with us on the Speed Channel as Speed Cars Australia, in conjunction with Speedway Australia, presents exclusive coverage of the 2014 NZ Australian Speed Car Championship. It's the last 10 years, 7 times the Americans have won this event. Of course, the defending title holder, Western Australia's Neville Lance, joined by Sammy Walsh. Good evening, Sammy.
G'day, David. It's great to be here. Good to see, I hope we see another Australian win. It would be great to keep it in the country.
Okay, so a start is imminent here. This is heat number 13. Commencement of the next round of qualifying heats on this, the second night of competition. Warren Ferguson also with us in commentary.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Great to be here. Really enjoy hanging around with these speed cars at the moment. There's some great racing going on.
It's been an epic season for the little cars. Pearson Brown, they will share the front row in heat race number 13. Other starters here, Hallett, Redmond, Dome, Bright, Wilson and Jenkins. So 2 Americans starting for positions 5 and 6 on the raceway. We're underway, and Mark Brown best to begin. Andy Pearce couldn't go with him early. Here's one of the 2 Americans, Zach Dome. He finds himself up to second on the racetrack as we now ride on board with Dane Kingshot. It is lap 1 of 12, and the American challenging Brown on the inside.
Troy Jenkins has had a blinder here. He's up to 3rd place already and keeping in touch with the leaders, Sammy.
He is, mate. Also, Dorm's really challenging Brownie for the lead. I think Brownie took off with that start. A lot of intent behind his actions, but Dorm's definitely running strong, and so is Jenkins. VOC Gas's entry of Troy Jenkins, doing an outstanding job. Hallett is next. Here's Dorm on the outside of Mark Brown. Good racing here. Typical speed car stuff. They're too wide, and the American goes upstairs looking for maximum traction. Brown is a crafty, experienced campaigner. It's one thing catching him, another thing passing him, and just as I say that, the American achieves the goal. Yeah, great move on the outside, really working that heavy dirt up on the outer part of the racetrack to his advantage, getting up into the traction and making the move into the front-running spot.
So the American surges to the front, and another look at that. You can see the cushion developing early in the night from mid-track up, and it worked a treat there for the American. And he now leads by about 5 car lengths mid-race distance.
Brock Hallett there has recovered from what was probably a disastrous start by his standards, and he's using that top line to his advantage. Troy Jenkins seems to favour more of the lower line on the racetrack.
Troy, an experienced campaigner, been running speed cars for well in excess of 2 decades now. Hallett He goes by on the outside of Mark Brown. So too does the American Alex Bright in the Polar Ice Jack Berry-owned race car. And in fact, Bright goes up on the inside now of Brock Hallett. They are side by side, lap 8 of 12. We switch to the onboard shot as Alex Bright checks out on Brock Hallett.
You can certainly see why Bright's up, well, the leader on points after night one. His car seems to be drivable across the racetrack. He could work the outside and the inside as we go caution with a loose wheel.
Yeah, a runaway wheel.
Looks like a broken axle there, Sammy. Looks like
it does actually, yeah. The axle's still attached to the rim centre.
And Mark Brown.
I was just thinking a moment ago, you know, Mark Brown's backing up considerably here, and I really couldn't understand what was going on. He was so fast earlier, but I think this pretty much tells the story.
Honestly, if this team hadn't had so much bad luck this season, there would be no luck at all. They are having a shocker by their standards. Nothing going right for them. You're looking there at one of the best speed car drivers in the world, and not a thing is going right for them. So race restart, still with 4 to go. Zach Daum, the American, is the race leader. Hallett, the South Australian former Formula 500 racer, in second. Good action here at Speedway City. Alex Bright goes lurking upstairs too, trying to find a way by Hallett. And Hallett has somehow managed to snatch the lead from Zach Daum. Good stuff, and now Bright has a crack. They are 3 wide here onto the back straightaway. In heat number 13, can the South Australian lower the Americans' colours? Bright is going to get to the front now. Incredible.
Yeah, great job by both Hallett and Bright to get by Daum. Daum looked so commanding earlier in the race, or just before that last caution. Daum having another crack at getting up back to second.
What a motor race here. Speed car racing at its absolute best. Brilliant. And Pennsylvania's Alex Bright. He is in charge. What a fantastic drive. Came from a fair way back in the field and has been superb. Daum now serves it up to him. Just 1 car length separating them. And what a drive by Brock Hallett. Last lap now. Heat race number 13, the NZ Australian Speed Car Championship at Speedway City. This one going down to the wire. The Polar Ice car, the Esslinger Brecker of Alex Bright, is going to take the win off turn number 4. He gets it done. Daum second, an American 1-2. Then Hallett, followed further back by Troy Jenkins and Andy Pearce. Well, gentlemen, it doesn't get any better.
No, top race. You can't complain about that. We had a great run.
What is going on there?
Race.
After the checkers.
Shake your head, all right. Wow. Could have been worse. Only a gentle little glance off the concrete wall. So Alex Bright, absolutely brilliant in heat 13. Here he is with Ebony.
Alex, well done from coming mid-pack to win that heat.
Thank you. The car was great. Jones family have this car hooked up real good. Hopefully that'll be a sign of what will happen later.
Awesome, well done.
Thank you.